Okay, okay, guys. So we will start the session. I'll start with the next topic, that is positivism. Okay, so one of the most important topic here in the second chapter. So we have already discussed about sociology and science, sociology as science, and we have understood what you're going to write in that particular answer if the question is asked on whether sociology is a science or not, right? So we have understood the context first, and then we have tried to develop an understanding on science, and we have discussed the understanding on science in the beginning, any body of knowledge which conforms to the ideals of empiricism, inductivism, and which is capable of yielding universal theory is something which is considered as science, right, in the beginning of 19th century. But then over a period of time, the conceptualization or the understanding of science have undergone or underwent a change, and we have seen it is more in terms of method of inquiry rather than a body of knowledge. So when we talk about the method of inquiry, if the investigation or if the inquiry or if the explanations are given in a systematic way, in a scientific way, based on logic and reason, based on evidence, then that body of knowledge could be considered as scientific. So as I've already told you, if is there any problem with the voice, guys? I can see one or two messages. Any problem with the voice? Others, can you just clarify this one? No. Okay. So Juhi, just try to check from your side. Frequency not matching, that video and audio is not matching. I'm using an external mic. I don't know whether that is a problem, but is there any problem? Is still problem is there with the audio and video? Then I can I can turn off the video. Actually, if video is there, then it may consume unnecessary bandwidth even for you also. So I can turn off the video also. If there is a mismatch, then there is no point in keeping the video, guys, because maybe from your side, if this internet issues there, still that may be a problem. My side, I think it is very strong and very good connection. Even the backup is also good. Everybody is facing the same problem. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay. Yeah. So we were trying to discuss about science, right? And then we have discussed the possibility of an argument in case sociology being a science or not, right? And then I've told you, if the first understanding is what we're going to take about science, then we have no scope for argue, right? Because it is understood more in terms of a body of knowledge, what you study. Secondly, it is understood more in terms of method of inquiry. That means how you study. If it is about how you study, then we have a scope for argue for sociology or sociology being science. And then we have discussed some of the conditions for science. What are the conditions? I asked you to remember that at any point of time, and I'll be repeating those conditions in this topic that we're going to discuss today, positivism also. Intersubject reliability, quantifiability, objectivity, theory building, testing, prediction, etc. Right? And we have explained all of these. And then we have gone with the arguments in favor for sociology being science by taking into consideration each of these. Right, I've told you there is a considerable amount of intersubject reliability. We have tried to quantify things and we are trying to ensure objectivity. We have universal theories and we can test everything. And then there are objections or arguments against also. We have discussed the question of universal theory, the applicability of universal theory, or the universal applicability of the theories which are framed in sociology. And then the question of testability, question of objectivity, all we have raised. And finally, we have concluded by saying that sociology is a science, but not similar to natural science, but it's a science in itself. If we consider method of inquiry as science, or how you study is what matters, then sociology is considered as science. And it is not similar to natural science. And then we are quoting Weber, and then we are explaining what is the difference between sociology and natural science in terms of subject matter. What sociology study is the human being who have consciousness and the behavior of whom cannot be predicted, whereas sociology study, whereas natural science study matter, which do not have any consciousness, and the behavior can be predicted easily in terms of cause and effect relationship objectively. So there is a obvious difference in the subject matter. Okay, so that is what we have seen in the last session. And we have also finally discussed about Karl Popper's statement: science is not a body of knowledge, but the method of studying a phenomena, or it's about method of inquiry. So guys, that's about science. The topic is done. Why I've discussed that is because it will actually help you to go for a quick recap of what we have done. At the same time, today we are going to discuss about the concept of positivism. I'll write it after some time, the important points, but let me explain first. When we discuss about positivism, understand this is the initial approach used in sociology. Now, when I say initial approach, it will be the initial sociologists. Who are they? Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer, Émile Durkheim. These are mainly positivist. Now, what was their intention before? When sociology emerged, it's a relatively young discipline. And last session also, and many other sessions as well, we have discussed that these guys want to make it similar to natural science, because then only they will get that initial acceptance of that legitimacy. So they want to make it similar to natural science. So when you are trying to make it similar to natural science, the concepts employed in natural science, or the methods which is used in natural science, or the perspectives which you use in natural science is what you're supposed to use in sociology also. So positivism was one of the approach which is actually followed mainly in science. Positivism is related to many things. I'll be discussing about that, mostly repeating from science, what we have discussed yesterday, like theory building is there, that is related to positivism. Universal theories are supposed to be made. Objectivity has to be ensured. Cause and effect of everything need to be explained. What do you mean by this cause and effect relation? For everything, there is a cause, right? For any action, there is a cause. For everything, there is a cause that need to be explained. That is what natural science will try to do. Sociology also should aim at the same, establish the cause and effect. Okay. Now, what do you mean by that? Establish the cause and effect. If there is an effect, there is a cause. So you have to link this two and establish that relationship between cause and effect, right? Guys, anything is there is a cause for that. So you have to identify, like you are rich. What does that mean? There is a cause for that. Simply, you cannot be rich, right? There is a cause. You're poor, still there is a cause. You crack this exam, there is a cause. You don't crack this exam, still there is a cause. You are healthy, there is a cause. You are obese, there is a cause. So for everything, there is a cause. Identifying the cause is one of the most important concern of the sociologist. Okay. Establishment of cause and effect is very important. That is one of the most important pillar of positivist approach. So when we discuss about positivism, I'll talk about all these elements: establishment of cause and effect, using scientific methods, studying only external realities, okay, and then objectivity, testing, all those things that we have discussed yesterday. So what I mean by positivism is one of the initial approach which is used in sociology directly from one of the approach which is actually used in science, because they want to make it similar to science. So in sociology, we have used it slightly in a different way. We can say that it is a sociological positivism, because not completely the way it is used in natural science or philosophy or those kinds of subjects. So there is some deviation. That deviation we will try to understand as well. Okay. So this is what I want to tell in the beginning. Positivism, why we use this approach in the beginning? We want to make it similar to natural science. Okay, and this is one of the approach which is used in science. So we have readily used that method or approach in sociology also. It is similar to science. So the points that we have raised yesterday, it will be repeating here also, like theory, like objectivity, like testing, prediction, and all those things will come in positivism also, because science, one of the approach in science is what? Positivism. One of the approach in science is positivism means what? This positivism should ensure all the conditions that we have discussed yesterday. The positivism also should follow the same assumptions, right? So all those will be repeating. So what are going to be the elements of positivism? Now you can tell easily. Firstly, it mainly conforms to the ideals of empiricism, inductivism, naturalism, etc. Empiricism means studying only the external reality. So this is one of the most important point when it comes to positivism, because later, tomorrow, or in the next session, Monday, we will be discussing non-positivism. There, I will tell you, you will be studying internal aspects. Okay. So here, external reality, the empirical facts, empirical reality, same thing that we have discussed yesterday also. So positivism stress on studying only external reality. In fact, it's a limitation also that we will see in the criticism, because you are only studying external reality, but society is composed of human beings, human emotions, human actions, meanings, intentions, and all these feelings which are internal is not actually studied in positivism. So when you're focusing on external reality, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of social reality, or it's a partial understanding of social reality. I hope you got that point. So first and most important point is focusing on external reality. Even Comte claimed that a sociologist should never be concerned about internal aspects. You should only be focused on external reality and try to establish cause and effect. So what is the second point? Establishment of cause and effect is one of the most important pillar of positivist approach. So as I've told you, for everything there is a cause and effect. That link between the cause and effect need to be established. Okay, so this is the second point. Now, how you're going to establish cause and effect? You have to establish by making universal theories. So establish the cause and effect through universal theory. When I say universal theory, means the theory which is made, which should be universally applicable. Is that possible in sociology? We have discussed yesterday that there is a limitation for that. Okay, now how those theories are made, or how the conclusions or the generalization are supposed to be made? By using scientific methods. So do we have a scientific methods? No, right? Sociology came. So initially we don't have any scientific methods in sociology. So what we can do? Directly borrow from natural science. And you will see some examples like statistical techniques, which is a scientific method, right? Quantitative techniques. These are borrowed from science, which is readily used in sociology, especially in the study of, can you tell anyone? Durkheim's study of suicide. He used statistical techniques, which is directly borrowed from science. Okay, but later sociologists developed scientific methods, and we will also be discussing about that. Émile Durkheim talking about different methods. Okay, multivariate analysis, comparative analysis, and then indirect experiment. Okay, all these study, and then Max Weber also talking about Verstehen, ideal types, and different other methods. So all those we will discuss. So initially, we have borrowed directly from science, the methods. Later, we have developed also. But there are problems in using all these methods, because something which is used in science, like statistical technique, how can you quantify emotions, the feelings, the meanings, or the love, hatred, and all these feelings? You cannot quantify like the way you do in natural science, right? You cannot put that in terms of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. You cannot rate also. So there is obvious limitation in using the methods directly from natural science. And at the same time, even though you develop methods for sociology, there are obvious limitations again with respect to its applicability. When you apply it, the personal bias of the investigator will also come into picture. So the next point in positivism is related to objectivity. Whenever you conduct the study, it has to be without any personal preconceptions or prejudices or assumptions or presumptions. That means there should not be any personal bias. Simple terms, you have to ensure objectivity in your study. What all things we have discussed? Firstly, you focus on external reality, establish cause and effect. How you establish cause and effect? Through universal theories. How you make universal theories? By using scientific methods. Why you're using scientific methods? To ensure objectivity. So these are the elements that you need to write, and it should be testable, it should be replicable, and it should also be capable of predicting. Okay. So these are elements, and you can see mostly are similar from science, like universal theory, you can see from there, objectivity, you can see from there, testing, prediction, all these things are coming from the previous one only. So there is actually a repetition, but it is the same, right? Positivism is an approach which is directly related to science. The elements of science would obviously come here, because positivism should support the concerns or the main elements of science as well. So that's why that repetition. In fact, that is actually going to help you. Okay. Any doubts here, guys? So this is what about positivism. It's about studying external reality. It's these elements, if you combine, you will get an understanding of what is positivist approach. So a sociologist who's following a positivist approach means how his study will be. Will he be focusing on internal dimensions, aspects? No, right? He will only focus on external realities. He will study religion. He will study family, but he won't study the meanings of individual connected to religion or connected to family, etc. That you will see in the next approach, that is non-positivism. So there are obvious limitations in positivism, especially when it comes to sociology. So we will see a different approach, which will also take into consideration the internal aspect, that is a non-positivist approach, as a critique to positivism, new approach. That we will see in the next day. But this one is quite simple, right? So if you understood these elements, then positivism is done. That's it. I'll just write it also. So guys, if you see, yesterday we talked about science. So where we have discussed about inter-subject reliability, we have discussed about quantifiability, we have discussed about theory. Okay, and theory means it's establishment of cause and effect only. And then we have discussed about, positivist approach means scientific approach. Okay, in fact, non-positivist approach is also scientific approach only. But what has been assumed and what has been understood as scientific approach is actually positivism. But yesterday, if you remember, I have also told you that it's about method of inquiry. So non-positivism is also method of inquiry is scientific. So you can consider non-positivism also scientific. It is not that non-positivism is not scientific, but positivism is what you can assume and presume and directly understood to be scientific. Theory, and then ensuring objectivity, and then going for testing, all right, and then prediction. So these are the elements that we have discussed yesterday. And today you will see the overlapping, because one of the approach in science is positivism. So all these will be overlapped here. So positivism is an approach which is used to ensure these objectives or these concerns of science, right? So obviously this, you will see establishment of, so here also I've discussed yesterday, empiricism is very important here. So here we will be talking about empirical reality. I'm just writing it as external reality. That will be better, because external and internal realities is what we are making the main distinction. Empirical means external reality only. Okay. And then external reality is what you're looking for. Okay. And then establishment of cause and effect. How you're going to establish the cause and effect? Universal theories is what you're supposed to make to establish the cause and effect. And then how you're making this universal theory? Using scientific methods. Do you have a scientific method? No. So initially you borrow from science, later you develop. When the sociology develop further, you can develop methods, and we will see both as well. So here I've given you an example for borrowing, that is statistical techniques which is used in the beginning. And then later sociologists have developed methods like indirect experiment, causal pluralism, ideal types, worst hand, causal probabilism, comparative analysis, multivariate analysis. So many such methods have been made by the sociologists for sociological studies. Okay. And then you can go for next point. When you're studying or when you're making theory, you have to make sure that it is objective. That means there is no personal bias. Okay. And then the other things, testing and prediction and everything remain the same. So is there any problem with respect to this topic? So this is about positivism. Now, if the topic is what? Positivism and its critique. Now, guys, this is going to be very simple for you to criticize, right? Let's start with one by one. Now it is just take one by one and criticize it. The main feature is external reality you should study. Will you be able to criticize? What you will say? You will say if you're studying external reality, it's a partial understanding of society, because society is composed of internal meanings. Society is all about human beings. So human consciousness is very important. And then you can also use, for example, according to Weber, you should study internal aspects. Okay. And then establishment of cause and effect or universal theories, we have already criticized yesterday. Because most of the theories which are made in sociology are not universally applicable. In fact, this concern or question of universal applicability is limiting the sociological theory scope actually. Okay, practical applicability is actually a problem. Now, when it comes to scientific method, I've told you initially borrowed, but that is not directly cannot be used in sociology. There are obvious limitations. Even when you develop, there are problems with personal bias. Which method you use based on your convenience you will use, and it all depends on the investigator. Objectivity, we cannot ensure 100% objectivity in sociology as human beings studying human beings. That is a big problem. If you're studying matter, then you can ensure objectivity. You can study without any emotion. But when you're studying human being, you are trying to see, even if you're trying to understand another human being itself, still you cannot do it objectively. Even if you cannot understand your wife, right? So how about other human being? So you are a Hindu, how can you study a Muslim? Right? There's a big problem. You are a male, and how can you study a female? These are going to be very difficult. You are a North Indian, how can you study a South Indian? There will be an obvious bias here. Testing, prediction are distinct reality in sociology. So did you got the criticism? As a solution to these critique is what we are going to discuss about non-positivism. There's a new approach, very important topic. We'll do that tomorrow. Guys, as of now, you have nothing. You just need to remember these points only, and your answer is done. I'm done with the session, actually. We will go with the PDF now. So positivism as a perspective was one of the initial attempt to understand social world in a systematic manner. In sociology, positivism during 19th century had an overwhelming influence of natural science. It was an attempt to visualize the social world by using intellectual parameters employed by natural science. It aims at understanding social world as a sequence of cause and effect relationship between object that one can observe. Whatever you see in society, whatever you can observe, you should be in a position to establish the cause and effect. As I've told you, for everything, there is a cause. You are here, there is a cause. I'm here, there is a cause, right? For everything, there is a cause. As a theoretical perspective, positivism is divided by three interrelated ideologies, including empiricism, naturalism, and inductivism. Empiricism, it advocates foundation of knowledge in terms of observation, means studying external reality. Naturalism, it considers the material reality as supreme and the basis for social world. It is also similar to empiricism only, external reality, that is a material reality. You will understand more about this once we discuss about Marx and Durkheim later. Inductivism is a method of theory building, right? That we have already discussed. Right from collection of data without any personal bias, you use a scientific method, interpretation of data, and finally make the conclusion. That approach is what inductive approach, which is used in science, which you use in your this physics lab also, right? Before. These three ideologies inspired the initial sociologists to think of a social world as empirical and capable of being reduced into universal laws based on cause and effect relationship. Okay, guys, in sociology, positivism first came through French tradition. Borrowing heavily from philosophy, Auguste Comte introduced sociological positivism. Sociological positivism emerged as a deviation from pre-existing perspective. That is, early sociologists were neither purely empiricist nor inductivist. As I've already told you, positivism is all about empiricism and inductivism, but initial sociologists were not completely empiricist, not completely inductivist, but they follow this approach. That's what there is a small deviation from the existing setup. According to Saint Simon, positivism was rooted in developing a science of society which is analogous to natural science like physics. Auguste Comte framed basic assumptions of sociological positivism. According to him, true knowledge is based on thinking about physical and social world as a system of causal, guys, that is a spelling mistake. It is casual, which is written causal explanation, CAUSAL, relationship between realities that we can directly or indirectly observe. So this point, early sociologists were neither purely empiricist nor inductivist, will substantiate this point, right? You can directly or indirectly observe. If it is positivist understanding what we discussed before, indirect observation will not come. External reality, it should be directly observed. Here, indirect observation is also there. This is very different from arguing that we can only derive knowledge from direct observation. Comte, right? The search for laws uses reason as well as observation. So that is what indirect means. You can even use reason as well. Okay. So it's neither purely inductivist nor purely empiricist. It aims at understanding the world as a sequence of cause and effect. According to Comte, sociology is the last. Just ignore that sentence. Positivist was further enriched by Durkheim and to an extent Karl Marx also. Durkheim we are going to study in detail and Marx also will study in detail. But Why I have written to an extent Karl Marx is because Marx was not a pure sociologist. Marx is more of a philosopher or an economist or a political scientist. Because of his concern towards society, we have considered him as a sociologist. And it's a very young discipline. We don't have much contribution of thinkers. So Karl Marx, anyway, we cannot ignore. But Émile Durkheim wrote as a pure sociologist. He even used the same approach, and he openly says that's a positivist approach. The methods he developed is also related to that. He wanted to make it similar to natural science. So obviously, Durkheim. Durkheim emphasized and exhibited the use of scientific methods as an integral aspect of positivist understanding. Guys, whatever we have discussed so far, you just need to write it in only one paragraph because the most important elements are going to come now only. Okay, all these need to be not more than one paragraph. Okay, the main elements of sociological positivism. You should be studying external reality. So Comte argued that sociologists should never be concerned with internal meanings, motives, feelings of an individual. Then you should be using scientific methods in sociology. So initial positivists, they stressed on the use of methods similar to natural science, but later positivists developed methods. Okay, for example, Émile Durkheim, in a study of suicide, he used method directly from natural science, a statistical technique. But in his later theories of religion, etc., he used methods which are specifically devised for social science. Similarly, Weber also developed methods. You will be able to write methods here once we're done with the thinkers chapter. Then, establishment of cause and effect relationship. How you make cause and effect relationship? By using universal theories. How you make the theory? By using scientific method. Which approach you follow? Inductive approach you follow. Okay, so all those things can be written in one paragraph. Discovery of cause and effect is very important. Trying to establish the correlation between observable facts leading to development of theories which are universally applicable. This implies a pure preference for inductive theories. Scientific method, anyway, I have discussed here. Then prediction, okay, and also it should be testable. Then it should be completely value-free objectivity. What do you mean by, just understand now, no personal bias, objective. What is value freedom? I'll discuss in the next session. Value means values are the beliefs and ideas that we carry in our mind. Okay, so that values lead to personal bias. We carry certain belief, like if you consider women as weak, then when you're studying women, you carry that value in your mind. That's a patriarchal value, and then your studies will be based on that only. So that will be biased understanding, whatever you're going to make. Okay, so value is actually going to make you biased, or it will compromise objectivity. So what is required is value freedom. There should not be any value in the investigation or the research. I'll discuss this in one entire complete session after non-positivism. Now critical analysis, guys. Critical analysis, even if you're, rather than reading this, take one by one we have discussed. Let's take the first one, external reality. I've told you it's a fundamental misunderstanding of society because it is only one-sided. Scientific methods. Here you're talking about initially statistical technique, but there is a technical problems in using that method in sociology. Later they have developed method, but still there is problem with applicability, personal bias, etc. Okay, universal theories. Is it possible in sociology? No, it is not possible. Prediction and testing are distinct reality. Okay, instead of inductive approach, deductive approach seems to be better in sociology. And value freedom or objectivity cannot be ensured in sociology. So that is what you can write. That is what actually given here. Okay, let's look into those problems. Gradually, it was acknowledged that instead of inductive approach, deductive approach is more suitable in sociology. Moreover, Karl Popper, in his book, The Logic of Scientific Discovery, highlighted the scientific factor of deductive approach. According to him, there is no contradiction between positivism and deductivism. Positivism is considered by few as a fundamental misunderstanding. Why? You are studying only external reality, you are ignoring the internal aspect, the meanings and emotions, etc. So it's a partial understanding of reality. Okay, so that is what, for example, non-positivist, or you can simply write even Weber also, they consider all of these. The overemphasis on universalism has made this approach practically being inapplicable. Even most of the sociologists, their laws are actually rejected, right? They are not universally applicable. Comte's laws of social organization suffered a lot of logical errors, resulting in its rejection. Absolute objectivity is neither possible nor desirable in sociology. Actually, But when we discuss about positivism or when we discuss about science, absolute objectivity, 100% objectivity is required. But in sociology, it has been understood later that it is not possible. It is not desirable also. I'll come to this topic later because we have a separate session on objectivity. Okay, so that's about this. And next, the methods used in natural science can never be used in sociology with ease. Even the use of statistical techniques face severe criticism in terms of application. Then later they have devised methods, but still it suffers with problem with biases, implementation, etc. Then there is a limit to testability in sociology. Even the universal theories framed by positivists could not be tested empirically. In due course of time, even the positivists also reverted to more reliance on reason rather than empirical testing for validating their theories. Okay, so testing is not possible, prediction is not possible. So what I want to tell you is, you can, okay, keep this PDF. This is a very well prepared answer. And remember, these answers are prepared for 30 markers and 60 markers. You have to derive content from this for 20 marker as well as 10 marker. So that's why I've told you in the beginning that whatever I've discussed in that 120 words, you need to write it in 30 words. You have to reduce to 1/4. That's why I'm explaining in this way, explaining that conditions. So take one by one. What are the main elements? I'll just remove this and I'll explain once again. What are the main elements that you need to focus on when we discuss about positivism? External reality, okay? Then use of scientific methods, establishment of cause and effect, and making universal theories by using inductive approach, ensuring objectivity, testable, and prediction. All these one by one you can take and you can criticize. External reality, take it, criticize it. Now I'm not explaining, you know that. If you don't know, even now, either watch the video once again or read the PDF, okay? Because what is that problem? It's a partial understanding of society. You can use Weber or non-positivist. Theories, again a question. Universal applicability of theories is a question. Theories is not a question. We have n number of theories, but are they all universally applicable? No. Is there anyone which is universally applicable? Actually, no. Okay. So that's a limitation. And objectivity, problem is there. Testability and prediction is never possible in sociology. But Priya, it will be okay. Once you have that knowledge, that confidence will automatically come. Once it comes in that way, then things will automatically follow. You can write even 100 words as well. I always tell this point. I can explain this in 100 words. I can explain this in 1,000. Even after half an hour, I can take and I can keep on explaining. See, talking is very difficult. Writing is very simple. If I can explain for 30 minutes, definitely I can write for 1,000 words. Right? No doubt in that. Same way, I can explain in 1 minute means I can explain in 100 words as well. So if you, that is what I'm trying to give you, that confidence if you have, then there is no problem. Now, naturalism means considering material reality as supreme. It is again the version of empiricism only. We will try to understand, and yeah, it is about practice and experience. It took a long time also for me, obviously, but and whatever that long time I have taken, that learning curve is reduced for you, no, because of me. You don't want to put that much effort, so that is there. Okay, this one, what I'm saying is, yeah, empiricism will, it is similar to empiricism only. It's about considering material reality as supreme. We will discuss more about this material reality and the related explanation in Karl Marx. Any doubts, guys? If you want, you can turn on the mic and you can speak also. Just 1 minute, I'll just unmute all of you. Yeah. All
right. Sir, I am Kirti. I want to ask, sir. So biggest thing and the biggest fear I have is like the knowledge about any topic I have, how to deliver it according to the demand of the question. So, sir, even after understanding the concepts, it is very possibility that we are not able to produce that. So sir, I want to ask to all the aspirants, like whatever you teach us on a day on the same very topic, because you take understand it, make us understand in a very simple and good language, we can at least write the 2 past year question on the same topic and just post in the group. and it will be like because discipline is a issue for the person who is preparing alone at a home in a village. So sir, this is my biggest fear. So
you can write,
can
and some other person, actually this group have actually just started, and in fact after the first two topics people have just started writing. You can also start writing, no problem with this
sir,
Girish.
alone it is not getting initiated. I want that there is a Delhi discipline that everybody is writing and we cross check each other's answers, and
No,
even
see,
you
there is
comment.
but in that case there is see, I would more go with or recommend for a peer-to-peer review, because it will be very much impossible for me, that many students are there to cross
Okay.
check all the answers. So peer-to-peer review will be better, and I can go through one or two answers as well, and when you are writing something as suggestions, then I can go through that as well, because things are very simple, at least when it comes to these chapters. So you start writing and automatically things will get improved. Later I will also see that once you come to a good stage. Okay, you do it daily, because they are Priya's daily, you're doing it daily, and I used to comment also. I'll just go through that answers when she's writing, and she's posting in the group also.
Okay. So,
Okay.
sir, one more thing that along with the classes like we do in the school or college, that whatever we read, we have a test after that. So, is it there, or we will
Now
write
see,
only after that?
there is an answer writing module which is attached with the course. You can, that everything whatever you need to follow after each chapter is given there. Let's say answer
Okay.
writing module, you take the first session. The first session is about the first chapter. So I'm explaining further the first chapter. That I will not be doing it live in the session that I've told in the beginning. It's already done and it is already uploaded. You just need to watch that after completion of the first chapter. So you will be getting that three topics, only three topics. In that I have discussed around 15-16 questions and all the answer writing formats and everything, and I've given the questions also to practice. Another
Okay.
second session, if you take, the next chapter will be discussed. So like that we have done all the sessions, all the chapters. So once you complete the, either in the recordings you complete the chapter, or in the live session you complete the chapter. Once you've done that, you go through that answer writing module, which is there in the course itself. There is another answer writing module that is for the outsiders. This is already given to you in the course itself. I think second module after the first chapter, second module is what we have given. That there the questions is there, and you can practice the questions. Answer format is given, answer is given, right? Everything is there. So that system is so designed